Hello, everyone. I've got 3 o'clock on my clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. More people hopefully will be joining us. But thank you for joining us for today. I'm Teresa Lyson, a business solutions consultant at NICC. Today's topic is finding your way to enough with Brooke Fitzgerald. Brooke is an energy builder as a coach, speaker, and mentor. She loves nature, community, and connection. Brooke shares in life's adventures with her husband and their 2 boys who reside in Iowa. As the energy builder and partner at the Restoration Project, she enjoys working with teams and individuals to feel empowered and connected in their development journey. If you have any questions throughout Brooke's presentation today, please add them to the Q&A or the chat box at the bottom of the screen, and we will save time at the end of the webinar to answer those. And with that, I will turn it over to Brooke.
Great. Thank you, Teresa. Welcome, everyone. I'm grateful to be with you today. And we're talking on one of my very favorite topics, which is finding our way to enough. And uniquely, our approach at the Restoration Project, we are fellow travelers in our clients' journeys, whether that's individuals we're working with one-on-one or groups, executive leadership teams, or organizations. We've always found that, we ourselves are on a leadership journey and we get the opportunity to walk alongside all of our clients in that. And one of the most, you know, probably the most frequent client issue that we run into, that number one client issue, is this question or this underlying theme or root of, am I doing and being enough? And this is going to be a very small toe dip into this topic because typically, every Q3, Q4, we do a full day workshop on this topic. We do half day workshops on this topic. So we're really going to do a quick toe dip into this at a very high level. But when we're talking about this, am I doing and being enough? I usually start with my own journey and how I was rooted in this. Today, I'm known as the partner and energy builder of the Restoration Project. And over the last 5 years, I've been working alongside clients and teams and organizations on their leadership and personal journeys to living and leading intentional lives. Back in early 2020, I was transitioning from a 9-year run of owning a local brick and mortar coffee shop called the Early Bird. And it was during the forced shutdown period, actually, of the pandemic that I was able to reconnect with parts of myself who I had ignored for quite some time and build connections with parts of myself who I hadn't yet discovered. Those parts of myself that had been suffocated and choked by my ever evolving hair on fire, trying to hashtag all the things doing list. Those parts of myself that were seeking validation and worth in exhaustive people pleasing efforts out of an internal belief pattern that I just wasn't good enough. And out of that, I was pouring, so much of my doing into things for others. I was not exploring peace and alignment within myself that I was and that I am good enough. So I'm definitely a fellow traveler on this journey. During this time period, I came across the 5 top regrets of the dying. And do you want to know what consistently the number one top regret of the dying is? I wish I would have lived a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I want you to think about that. That is the top regret consistently year over year of the dying. When I came across this, it stopped me dead in my tracks. I was on a train with a one-way ticket to this destination. I'm curious if any of you can relate. Where you are on your leadership journey, where you are on your personal professional journey, is this you? Can you somewhat relate to this regret? My personal leadership journey has landed me in learning that worth and enoughness can no longer be defined or found in the doing. It needs to be found internally in my being. How I show up is more important than what I do. So, what is enough? When will I do enough? When will I be enough? I want you to ask yourself, what is the bar and who is setting it for you? What is that enoughness bar? Who is setting it for you? I'm going to invite you as a fellow traveler to be open and curious about this topic for you and your journey. And this is something that we consistently have to choose for ourselves. I ask myself frequently in my daily check-ins, does this align with the life I want to live? Is this person or is this thing raising my energy or lowering it? What's my motivation here? Most times it's nothing that we have to do differently or more of, but how we're being that has to shift. It's the mindset shift that I get to versus have to. I'm going to break down this conversation into 3 parts. The first part is going to be rebuilding connection with you and your definition of enoughness. I'm going to, in the second bucket, talk about restoring your intentions, where we're going to choose love over fear. And the third bucket is going to be inspiring action. I'm going to be giving you some tools and some practices at a very high level today, so you have some quick things to take away in cultivating an inner practice for yourself. So let's start with step 1. So step 1 is to build connection with yourself. And for some of us, it might be rebuilding that connection, similar to me back in 2020 when I was doing that with myself, right? Knowing your gifts and leaning into your contributions. Enough of the hustle, the hamster wheel, checking off all of the boxes. You potentially are on a treadmill, right? Burning precious life fuel and burning precious energy and going nowhere, or having that feeling that you're going nowhere, but leaving yourself feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, rigid, resentful. I have been in this place before. So if you are there, I see you. And I want to put a quote, kind of just to foundationally start us here. I want to put a quote for us to think about here. Detach your worth from how much you do and align with who you are being in the doing. The definition of peace is cultivating a life that feels good versus hustling for a life that looks good. We talk a lot about belonging, right? And there's a difference between belonging and fitting in. And I always like to break up that definition when we're talking about rebuilding connection because it's very important. Belonging, we all want to feel like we belong, like we have worth, we have value, we're seen, we're heard. And there's been a lot of light shed on this in the last several years. But in order to feel like we belong, we have to be who we are. And in order to do that, we have to know who we are. Fitting in requires you to adapt and become who you need to be in order to be accepted, right? So there's a huge difference between belonging and fitting in. Going back to the top regret of the dying, right? I wish I would have lived a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. That's living and fitting in, right? That's living in adapting yourself and going away from who you are and who you're created to be in order to belong, right? Or feel like you belong. I want you to really focus on being who you are, your uniqueness. You are the only one who has ever created and the only one who ever will be, right? Own that. There's huge power in that. Some questions to kind of root us in rebuilding connection. I want you to explore one gift that you were born with that no one gave you and which no one can take away from you. For me, it's an energy builder. I'm a spark plug of energy, I'm a connector, and that is a gift that I was born with. And I have to lean into that unique gift each and every day to show up as my best. The second question is how you can be a better friend to your gift. How do you care for that gift and not guard your gift? Whenever we have folks reflect on this second question, I get a lot of, well, I'm only this, or I'm just this. Drop the I'm only, drop the I'm just. You are, right? Do not guard your gift. Use it, show up with it, right? And be a good friend to your gift. The last question is who are you at your best? What commitment are you willing to make with yourself in showing up as who you were created to be? If this is difficult, which many times it is, right? If we've not had a solid foundation in who we are and not ever explored this in our personal and professional lives, this can be a really difficult place to start. And I just want to honor that for some, this is going to be really tough. Start a list, start paying attention to what are those compliments that you're receiving in and out every day. Instead of shrugging them off, accept them, receive them, jot those down, right? And continue building on the list. All right, the second step is restoring intention. This is choosing love over fear, okay? There are only two reticular pathways in the brain. Two. You guessed it, fear and love. Fear is closed, love is open. Fear is absolute, love is curious. Fear loves the ego story. Ego is fear's best friend, and love is our soul's story. Which one are you going to tend to? If you think about your day, how many times are you attaching yourself to the fear reticular pathway? And how often are you attached to love? We have to restore intentionality in making a conscious effort to stay in the love pathway. The reason being, we suffer from our stories, not our realities. Oftentimes, it's not the reality that's bogging us down. It's the stories that we're telling ourselves about the truth, not the actual truth. I had this quote on my bathroom mirror for a really long time, just to keep myself rooted in catching the thoughts and being aware of my thoughts and restoring my intentions there. I want you to think about how much time and energy are you spending on drama? Now, when I say drama, I'm talking about gossiping, comparison, judgment, miscellaneous toxicities, guilt, overthinking, complaining, right? All of those things. Think for a minute how much time and energy is spent on this for you every day. That is precious time and energy that we cannot get back. The exciting thing is you have control over this, right? As you think, so shall you be. As my friend Wayne Dyer's quote, I had that on my bathroom mirror for a long time as well. As you think, so shall you be. I've struggled mightily with the false belief system that I am not good enough. And the alignment to the following questions we're going to unpack here in this restoring intention bucket have helped me to restore myself back to the intentions of who I am and the confidence of being able to show up as her. I want you to think about what is a common thought that might be attached to fear or your ego that shows up. Mine shows up a lot as you're not good enough, right? I walk out of a business meeting or I walk out of a prospect meeting and my ego's already on my shoulder. Like, you're not good enough. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. You didn't say this right. I want you to think about what is that for you? What's that little phrase or what's that common belief system that's showing up for you? And I want you to catch it in the moment. I want you to ask yourself, what am I believing right now? Right? What potentially might be that story that is playing, not the truth? And is that belief true? Ask yourself consciously, bring it to light. Ask yourself, what am I making up? What is the story I may be telling myself here? Remember, love is curious, right? So these questions typically are rooting us in the curiosity of, there might be something else here and not the absolute ego story that I'm telling myself. The second portion is, who would I be if I let go of the fear, that belief, and turn to love the truth? What more is there for me to learn, understand, or feel here? Again, curiosity, right? Is there something more that I need to understand about this situation? Do I not have all of the facts? Am I making assumptions, right? Assumptions show up all the time. So that question really helps us get rooted in restoring those intentions back to the truth. All right, I've mentioned I'm going to give you just a couple of quick tools and practices to use. The SNAP exercise is one of those. Okay, this is a really easy practice to restore intentions. The steps are stop, notice, ask, pivot. Throughout the day, this takes less than 5 minutes to accomplish. Okay, what you're going to do is at any given moment where you're feeling maybe overwhelmed, you're getting yourself stuck in that story, I want you to stop. I want you to come to present moment, right? Stop what you're doing, physically notice how you're feeling, what's going on, check in with yourself. And then I want you to ask yourself a series of questions. It could be the questions that we just went through in the restore intention bucket. It could be those questions, right? A situation or a scenario that you got to replay, bring to the truth. You could also ask yourself questions such as, where might I be looking at something and I'm looking at it with fear, right? I'm looking at it so much that I'm ruminating and getting stuck in the fear versus facing it head on? Or where might there be a place in my life where I might be currently fueling my fear by not looking at what I need to look at? And then pivot is simply encouraging you to have the courage to take an action step, right? Stop looking once you've seen what you need to see and consciously take a loving, open, curious step in moving forward. All right, last step, step 3, inspiring action. So here we're cultivating an inner practice, okay? We're getting out of our head into our hearts, and that's honestly the longest journey you're ever going to make, right? Short distance, longest journey. But it's one that's in need of constant cultivation. If you have an inner practice and you cultivate it, spend your life cultivating, right? You will not have to chase your life in order to breathe. I'm going to say that again. If you have an inner practice and you spend your life cultivating it, you will not have to chase your life in order to breathe. All right, another quote here, rooting us in this. Validation of your enoughness is an inside job. Validation of your enoughness is an inside job. No one is walking around with your worth in their pocket waiting to give it to you. And that's a good thing, right? You have the power of owning that. You know, I remember when all of my practices were external. I had my worth in everyone else's pocket. I was people pleasing my way through life to earn my enoughness. My value, my worth was external with everyone else, right? So I was extending my power to everyone else, right? And waiting for them to give it to me. And guess what? That's never going to happen. That's how we land on that top regret of the dying. That's how we land on that, Yeah, that hamster wheel, right, of overwhelm and burnout and exhaustion and feeling like we just aren't enough. Some examples of some inner practices. Now, these are really common ones, right? Boundaries, breath work, saying no, connecting with nature, journaling, meditation, affirmations. When I first started on my leadership journey in this, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to try to do all these things, right? I was already going into that habitual, I can hashtag all the things, do this. I want you to choose one. If you're not currently doing any of these, choose one, right? Take 5 minutes a day to do one. If you currently are doing a couple of these, take 5 minutes to add, right? We spend our life cultivating, right? Continuing to add to our leadership journey and our leadership bucket. Breath work is a great place to start. It's free, doesn't cost anything, and doesn't hardly take any time at all. If you consciously take a couple of deep breaths in and out before you go into a big meeting, before you go into a prospect, before you go into your house full of kids after a long day of work, right? I sit in the garage, in my car, few deep breaths in and out to reroute myself to walk into my family and my kids, right? It's very, very powerful. The other one I'll highlight is meditation. I get a ton of questions about meditation and, what's the right way to do it? What's the right way to do it? And journaling too, right? What's the right way to do journaling? There is no right way. It's your way, right? Just start. One of the meditations I usually start with is a 5 minute do nothing meditation. And you're going to set a timer for 5 minutes, potentially on your phone, on your computer, wherever. And you're going to close your eyes and you're going to focus on nothing. Now, what's going to happen is thoughts are going to pop in, right? Oh, I forgot to put that on the grocery list. Oh, I need to email that so and so back. I need to prepare this agenda for tomorrow's meeting. All of these things are going to pop in, and that's okay. When they pop in, I want you to picture them as a red rubber ball. I want you to picture yourself grabbing the ball and setting it down on the ground. Go back to doing nothing. Another red rubber ball is going to bounce in. You're going to grab it. You're going to set it down. You're trying to rewire your brain in that 5 minutes to be calm and present with where you're at. You're really trying to use that mental muscle just like you would in a physical exercise, right? It's reps. Even though the reps hurt physically, we don't stop doing them, right? The goal is to get physically fit. Sometimes that requires pain, but that doesn't mean that we stop doing it. I always like to highlight a couple of those things because if we're not doing any of them, it can feel scary and overwhelming, as if we're not doing them, quote unquote, right. There is no right way. Just try it. Some inspiring action questions, some things to think about. What is between me and the present moment? What inner practice will I adopt and cultivate in my life? How will I be accountable? And then who will I ask for in support? Ask for help, right? Have an accountability friend, an accountability colleague, right? Have a coach, have a mentor, someone who can really help you stay on track. All right, I want to leave some time for questions. We're going to wrap with an enough mantra. And what we're going to do is we're going to close our eyes, we're going to put our hands over our heart, and you can silently or out loud repeat after me. Enough. I showed up. Enough. I showed up. Enough. I am connected. Enough. I am connected. Enough. I have the opportunity to learn. Enough. I have the opportunity to learn. Enough. I have the capacity to contribute. Enough. I have the capacity to contribute. Enough. I choose to move forward. Enough. I choose to move forward. Enough. I decide if the challenges I face defeat me or give me strength. Enough. I decide if the challenges I face defeat me or give me strength. And finally, enough. I am proud of you. Enough. I am proud of you. All right. I think Teresa maybe is going to facilitate some questions if we have questions. There are ways there that you can follow us, get in touch with us if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, want to share anything. You're welcome to reach out anytime. I welcome you to do so. Thank you for being with me and spending time with me today.
Thank you, Brooke. What a powerful message to get back to ourselves and be enough just as we are.
Yes.
If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat box or the Q&A box at the bottom. And we've got a couple minutes here to have time for Brooke to answer those, or if you just have any comments on what you've learned from Brooke today. There will be a poll that will pop up on your screen here. 3 quick questions just as an evaluation from today's webinar, and provide us some feedback we would appreciate. Yeah, so this is just a small portion of Brooke's session on finding your way to enough. She also has several other sessions that she has that we can bring to you and your company, and do a little deeper dive into this topic. If you are interested in learning more about Brooke and her presentations, please reach out to myself, and we'll get that worked out.
Yes.
We do have a question here, Brooke.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find myself starting some of these type of activities, but then I tend to not make it a habit. Any
Yes.
suggestions?
Yes. Well, you're not alone. I'm going to just first tell you that. Um, the most important part is that you're starting it, right? So starting it, and sometimes I always talk about consistency versus intensity. A lot of times, even with the 5 minute do nothing meditation in our workshops, we'll do that actually together. I'll set a timer, we'll sit for 5 minutes. And it's always interesting how many people say, wow, when you said we were going to do a 5 minute do nothing meditation, we thought, oh, well, 5 minutes, what's that? I mean, that's not going to do anything, right? But when you actually do it, it's hugely powerful. So if you find yourself dropping off and not being able to hold accountability to it, your intensity is probably too high, right? So if you, let's just say, you were going to do the meditation practice every day. Well, if you're not doing the meditation practice every day currently, then perhaps we start with 2 times a week, right? Is 2 times a week doable? And so we set that as a meeting on our calendar, right? Maybe it's Mondays and Friday mornings at 7 a.m. I'm going to do the meditation or whatever it is. But if you find yourself falling off, it's usually the intensity part is overextended, right? So lower the bar and start with something that you can be accountable to, and then work yourself up from there. Great question.
And we've got another one. As a supervisor, how do I help my team with this? Some find it fluffy and dismiss it.
Yes, yes, that is such a frequent question as well. A lot of times, we cannot ask of our team members something that we aren't currently doing ourselves. So for some, perhaps it's the vulnerability in showing up and expressing that, hey, this is something that I've been doing. Let's do it together as a team, right? We're going to try this as a team at our next team meeting. We're going to do this 5 minute do nothing meditation, right? I get that all the time in workshops where people are there either reluctantly, right? Or because their boss told them that we're going to this workshop or what have you. And I potentially might get an eye roll at the beginning, but by the end, it's wow, that actually felt really good. And so sometimes it's the consistency of the practice and fighting off. Remember, some of our friends, some of our colleagues, some of our team members, they're fighting those ego stories, right? And their ego story might be really, really loud. So we're going to honor that and meet them where they are, right? Meet them where they are. we have to do that in coaching all the time, right? I have to meet someone where they are not necessarily where I am or where I think they should be. So hopefully that helps answer the question.
We had another one pop up here. Any recommendations for newsletters or books, etc., that you recommend on this subject?
Yes. So anything by Wayne Dyer, if you just Google Wayne Dyer, he's since now passed away, but a huge mentor. Mark Nepo is also another mentor. I did an Inner Courage series with him last year. The Book of Awakening is a huge daily, a huge daily reading that is rooted in this practice. And my business partner, Lindsay, also wrote a book called Take It All Apart. And it really dives into those sections that we were talking about today. So,
Perfect. Brooke, maybe you can shoot some of those authors over to me and we can include it
yeah.
in our wrap
Oh,
up email. I was trying to write them down and I
yes,
missed them. So we'll
yes, I will
include
do
those
that.
in our email that we follow up today's session with. So
You bet. And I'll send the enough mantra to you as well, Teresa.
perfect.
Yeah.
So we are at our time limit today. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Brooke, for spending your time with us today. Just for those who have been attending our monthly webinar series, we'll be taking a short summer break for July and August. So watch our social media in August for our sessions to resume this fall. And if you have any questions, please reach out to myself and we can connect at a later time. So thank you, Brooke.
Great. Thank you all so much. Be good to yourselves.